say you need it, but you don't want to give it to me.
It was literally the first time this has never worked.
That worked, yeah?
Yes!
Okay, thank God. What's up, man?
What is up? Look at you.
How's it going?
Look at you looking like Freeway Uncle.
Why you looking at Freeway Uncle? I knew you were gonna piss me off from the minute I got on this damn. Why did I do this?
I'm trying to piss you off early.
I know you like
Get it
it.
out the way.
You like doing that.
I do. I've done, I usually do a lot of research for my guests. And
Right.
today I've done none.
Mm-hmm. That seems good.
Yeah,
There's not
yeah.
much to do on me.
No, I was actually going to ask you about that. You talk a lot about race in your work. You're actually sort of a newcomer when it comes to directing. You have very few credits. So being that you have so little behind you and have reached so quickly, so soon, what is it like to be white?
Well, it's great as far as
Yeah.
I can tell. I mean, I wish that was true. I wish that I was both young and that all of this came quickly and that like I accomplished more, but unfortunately it's just not true.
No,
It's
you've
been
actually had,
it's been a long
no,
time
keep talking.
coming.
Talk.
Well, just it, like, it takes a long fucking time to do shit. And like Dear White People started as a screenplay on some now totally defunct laptop in like 2005. And so that shit finally becomes a movie in 2014. And it looks like, it just happened overnight, but I wish.
I always talk, whenever I'm talking to new people, I'm always like, overnight happens. It takes like 7 or 8 years for overnight success.
Minimum. Yeah. 7, 8
And
years minimum.
And you started early, right? Because I mean, you were studying in college, but you were also like just this kid in Texas, and you were like studying film at such an early age. What inspired you to get into that in general, and what made you think you could do it of all people?
I know, right? Well, I was okay. So there's two things I attribute it to. One, like my mom taught me to believe in myself or whatever, and then two, I don't know. My first memory is watching The Wiz, and then like I remember watching Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and coming home and being like, I want to do that. And I didn't even know what that was, but like I wanted to tell stories that were visual. And I couldn't draw, and I tried to do that, and that didn't work out. And so it's literally been like a dream of mine since I was a kid,
Really?
and I had that dream before, like society stripped me of my self-esteem, and it just lasted through the years. In spite of
Um,
being black and gay, it stuck around, that dream. So
I'm so proud of you for still believing in yourself.
I
Uh,
know it's tough. It's honestly a lot tougher than it may seem.
it's very fucking hard. Speaking of The Wiz, The Wiz is what made me like Sidney Lumet, even though people call it a horrible film. Does The Wiz still stand up?
No, it's not
Does
a
it
good
hold
film.
up? No,
It
right?
holds up,
No?
it holds up for me because like films are subjective. Like they're actually, this idea that movies are objectively good or bad is actually ridiculous. They're dreams. And I imprint a lot of meaning onto that movie that I'm assuming the general population would not imprint upon it when they watch it. So I can put it on at any given fucking time and get all of my life. But I also, like, as a cinephile who is making movies and has studied cinema, like, I mean, yeah, I would have notes. Like if I was the studio executive, like I'd be like, hey, like close up would really be nice here, or like, an hour cut from the end. But like I wasn't, and I don't care, and I fucking love that fucking movie, and I will watch it constantly. It's like literally like sometimes like I'm this gay and black. Sometimes when I'm in abject despair, literally like Believe in Yourself is like the only song that'll like pull me back up. Like that movie is like a part of my gay black heart in a way that I can't really explain.
I love that movie because I love the songs from that movie, but it's also one of those movies where I don't know the words to any of the songs.
And you're
But
also gay, right? You're also a gay black man.
I'm huge into penises.
I mean, mostly
Yeah.
mine.
Like I'm a huge fan of my
And
penis.
they're huge into you, is what I could, from what I can
Do
tell.
they?
Well,
I feel
I've
like
seen. Okay.
Do you think? Yeah.
Oh, maybe that was just one of your close friends. Sorry. I think it's you posted something yesterday that felt very.
That felt very gay.
It felt very explicit. Actually, it wasn't even gay. It was just like, why would you do that? Um, but uh, but that's great, man. I'm glad that it means something to you, but you don't know any of the words.
I couldn't tell you.
One single word that is happening.
Ease on down the road. I mean, what do you mean you don't know the word?
Just don't carry nothing that might be alone.
Those are the words.
Is it be a load?
Yeah, carry nothing that might be a load.
Oh, because it's on you worried about the load.
Because you carrying a load. Yeah, it's a heavy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You got it.
That's why you here. That's why you here.
You got it, man.
You bring up being gay. Was it hard to be gay in Hollywood? Did you know?
Yeah.
You like that transition?
What the fuck are you talking? Of course.
I don't know.
Not only is it hard to be gay, it's hard to be gay and black, okay? Because your ass gets it from every angle. It's like,
I was gonna ask which is harder.
I don't know, because I've never been one of them without the other. I've never had that pleasure, but it's hard because as a gay black man, I don't see a lot of space made for me in queer spaces that I don't make myself. And as a gay black man, I don't really find a lot of space in black masculinity, in the culture of black masculinity where I can be myself, that I don't actively have to make for myself. And so, like, you just sort of feel adrift between these two worlds that you're very connected to. And I have all the same civil rights passions and, like, you know, I want to fight for equality and all that shit on both sides. But yet, like, I'm actually not receiving equality among my peers in any way, shape, or form. And that's kind of odd. That's an odd fit. But the cool thing is that, like, queer people, like, we're kind of magic, and we think in ways that you guys just don't. And we make really great art and music and fashion. And so really it's about, like, trying to figure out how to, like, get the coins for ourselves instead of, like, old white people who are just using us. Good luck.
I really hope you are able to make that journey. That'll be really exciting. When I was younger, I thought I was gay. It turned out I just like art or something.
Yeah, it was just like,
it's close. It's very close.
Well, that's the thing. When you're young, thinking in any way differently puts you in a spectrum of all sorts of things, but you're automatically gay
if you're just like,
if you don't get in a fight like before noon.
you know, I'm from like,
I'm from Brooklyn, you know. I'm from Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, so like anything, I was like, well, maybe I am gay. I'm not huge into penises, but like I don't know if I'm into like what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
you know.
Is that a requirement?
I don't know how it goes.
I don't know
any of the requirements.
I mean, the truth, there's all kinds of queer, man. I wish we weren't. I mean, the funny thing is we need these labels now so that, like, people can get protections and rights and stuff. But the truth is, like, that's not how humans work. Like, we're all on a spectrum of everything. And it really sucks that, like, queer and black communities aren't the same community. I mean, there's so much power that could be had if they were.
How do you feel about representation of queer people in media, like now? This is such a broad, easy. I feel like you get asked these questions every day, but I'm honestly curious because I don't think we have these kinds of talks.
I don't get asked that one, actually.
Really?
Much. Yeah. I think it's real shitty.
That's probably why they don't ask you.
Yeah, I think it's really shitty and problematic and exoticized.
I hate the word problematic. Did I tell you that?
No, why?
This is why I hate the word problematic. It is ridiculously unspecific.
And
It's true.
And I feel like it's the first word white people learn when they're learning about like justice or race or socio response. Like it's such a, like the other day I was having a conversation with somebody and we were talking about the song. Oh, I shouldn't say this is like a direct, whatever. She's not watching this fucking show. So you know the song WAP, right?
I've heard it. Yeah, I've heard it.
Yeah, have you heard it? It's relatively popular.
It's on the Thriller album, right?
Yeah. It's huge. It's the single before Billie Jean.
In 83. Yeah, okay, that's what
yeah.
And so they were like, we were talking about the song WAP, and I brought up on Twitter, someone said, oh, you're derogatory towards Italians. And she was like, what? I was like, I was like, it's without papers. It's a callback to it. I was like, WAP was a derogatory term for Italians. It means without papers, blah, blah, blah. And then she went, well, isn't that problematic? And then I went, no. I was like, it's derogatory. if you're speaking directly to it. I was like, I don't know what problematic means if I've told you it's derogatory.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah.
Because I feel like you're just using problematic to mean problem. Do you know what I mean?
In which case, I don't know what it means anymore.
I think most people mean that, like, I think most people say it to mean something that will probably offend some people, but I, in this moment, don't want to make a judgment call on it. I just want to talk about it.
Yes!
So I'm going to call it problematic, so we just put that aside, that I recognize there may be something about it people don't like, but I would like to keep talking about it. That's what I think the word means.
I think that's how you use it. Like what?
That's true.
What's your favorite?
What's your favorite problematic movie?
Ooh. This is hard because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I hate the word.
Yes. Fuck, my favorite one. Damn, I wish I was smarter than this.
You and me both.
I know you wish I was smarter than this.
Let's go to it.
I think I would go back to like The King and I or something. Have you watched that movie ever?
The King and I?
Have you watched it?
Yeah, it's with
Yul Brynner.
Yul Brynner.
It's wild. It's actually the wildest thing I've ever seen, because like to see like what 1940s like Hollywood thought was a respectful way to portray Asian people.
Because he's Asian in that, right?
Yes, they have Puerto Ricans playing Asians and like white people in yellowface, and then like actual Asian children. It is like wild. And then there's like a whole blackface sequence in the middle of the movie where the Asian kids put on a production of Uncle Tom's Cabin. It's the wildest fucking movie ever. But it's like got, getting to know you in it. So we watch it.
We gotta do it. We gotta do a thing of like problematic Asian movies or something. Like just movies. Hollywood's portrayal of Asian people is like,
It's the wildest fucking thing, because you're like, oh, Asians are allowed on set, but they can't speak. And if they are Asians that speak one or two lines, they tend to be Puerto Ricans. And if they're Asians that like can speak more than one or two lines, they're just white people. It's like wild. Like, and then all of them are in blackface at a certain point. It's, it's a fantastic piece of, and that's why when people like, cancel things, I get sad, because I'm like, no, we should watch things like Birth of a Nation and Gone with the Wind so that we are aware of what people thought was completely acceptable just a couple generations prior.
Oh, I hate that they've that they're like dropping all these like blackface episodes of shows or whatever, or episodes where they were.
I want to fucking
blackface.
know.
I want to know. I'm like, hey,
who did it?
2008.
Some of the shit was not a long time ago. Okay, like I love Jimmy Kimmel, but there's blackface footage on YouTube of Jimmy Kimmel right now.
Of Jimmy Fallon. All of these motherfuckers did blackface. Like Saturday Night Live did blackface recently in terms of like the pantheon of comedy. Here's the thing. I say this every time the blackface thing happens too, which is like every 3 years we're surprised at someone who wore blackface like 3 years ago. Like we're always surprised. Well, like this, you know how many motherfuckers are wearing? You're the very next mayor of anywhere is in blackface right now. You know what I mean?
They're always, and the thing is, like, there's actually a really interesting conversation to be had about blackface, but we can't have it as long as we're pretending it doesn't exist, and then when we find it out, like, hiding it from the world. It's like there's a reason. There's a reason why blackface was literally. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not being hyperbolic. Blackface is literally the first American popular culture.
It is.
And there is a reason why Americans, white Americans in particular, are compelled to do blackface that we will never get around to talking about as long as we pretend it doesn't fucking exist.
Well, and then here's my other thing. I remember learning about. I think minstrelsy is like the first American popular form of theater. Was like
Original
theater for America.
Blackface and minstrelsy, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember learning that in class from a teacher who was like, "It's America's first original art form," and I was like, "Well, that's amazing." That how white American is it to consider the first original piece of American art the thing where you're copying something else?
It's
Like,
actually
and-
perfect.
and
It's
then,
actually
like-
it's a perfect analogy for like all of America, all of American culture. Let's get the queers and the blacks to make our art for us, but then deny them any dignity or credit.
But what I love is I'm 18 listening to this man who's 30 something years old, white dude, theater teacher, and I'm like, it never struck you to think that maybe stealing other people's form of art is not an original form of art?
Well, I mean, but the funny thing is, man, it is an original form of art because you get so many things out of it that we wouldn't have had. Like we wouldn't have had tap dance, we wouldn't have had jazz music, we wouldn't have had ragtime, we wouldn't have had vocal improvisation, we wouldn't have rap. You know, that thing where people like talk over the beat that we call rap. Burt Williams in blackface was doing that in 1911 at the Ziegfeld Follies. All of this shit comes from black people. Like it comes from the cakewalk, actually, where the slaves would do this dance on the plantation to make fun of massa and the stupid way that white people dance. This literally is what happened. And white people noticed that the slaves were doing this, and they didn't get that they were the butt of the joke. So they would offer the winner, they would basically pit the slaves against each other in a dance competition, and the winner would win a cake. Not freedom, not time off, but cake. And black people took that and turned it into, over time, Michael Jackson and Beyonce and Oprah and Karl Malone and all this shit. So, like, that's kind of amazing, actually. But it's also, like, you know, we made it an art form because, like, it was, like, our only chance to, like, not be slaves.
Yeah.
Was to try and win this cake. And so, like, we turned that shit into an art form. And that's where American culture comes from. In every way. Gospel music, all of it.
I'm excited to see 8 Mile, but on a slave plantation.
Ooh.
Like
Make that movie.
I'm good
you
on
cowards.
that movie.
You
I'm
cowards.
Good. I'm good on watching the cake. I mean, the truth is, like, that shit's too real, though. You know? I mean, like, I've actually been thinking about this a lot because I made a horror movie that's coming out, and we sort of...
Oh, did you?
Uh-huh. And I had a lot of, like, it was a fucking journey to decide how to end the movie. Because, you know, this kind of goes back to Get Out, too, like the original ending of Get Out. And, like, I've seen the original ending. I've read the original ending.
You've
seen
it?
Uh-huh. And as a horror fan, I agree that that's the more interesting ending. But I disagree with Torre on this. I think Jordan picked the right ending for that movie. Because the thing is that when a white person dies at the end of a horror film, it's shocking. But when a black person dies or like, gets arrested or what, it's actually not shocking. It's actually, like... it plays into our expectations, so it doesn't operate in the same way. And, you know, so I'm a little, like, torn between, like, should I be making things that are just brutal reality, or should I be making things that have some hope in them or some aspirational quality in them? I don't know. What do you think about that?
I agree with what he did in that I believe you have to react to the moment. And I think it is a thing of this would be a different movie at a different time. Right? Like,
Yeah.
it was made when, like, Obama was, like, president, right? Like,
Right.
And so it had a very different thing. But the thing that was sort of evergreen about it was the idea of, like, talk about expectations of endings when those
Cop car.
when that cop car.
It's genius.
It's genius because for white Americans, and this is why it'll be evergreen, right? Because for white Americans, those lights are a sign of hope. And for black Americans, those lights are a sign of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And death.
And whether you were white or black, you felt that. No one had to say that to you. And it may have been the first time you felt that.
And that's the other thing is that so when people make movies that they feel are ubiquitous and all American, right? They're depicting dreams and fears that they have, right? Or what they feel are ubiquitous fears. And that was interesting about Get Out is that a ubiquitous fear for black people, you know, whenever they talk about a scary moment, it was like, you know, there's this big black guy and he's from behind me. You know what I mean? And for us, to be black in a strange white neighborhood is just as fearful.
or to be the only black person at an all white party and you don't know anybody. Like you really do. There's like a thing in our DNA that's like, I could get lynched today. I can't explain it, but it happens all of the time. And it just like, I'll sometimes just, because, you know, we live in LA and we're in Hollywood. So like, I'm often in white spaces. My partner is white. And, you know, when I'm hanging out with white people, I tend to be one of very few black people among them. And you get so used to it. And then there are just times when you just look around the room and you're like, oh, I'm the only person of color here, and there are hundreds of people here. That's fucking weird. But then you can't really say that to anybody, because then you look like you're fucking freaking out and accusing everyone of racism, which I guess you are. But it doesn't go over well.
No, I've explained that to people. I haven't had to have that conversation as much recently, but where it's just like, just so you know, like, we're always in your space.
Like, we have no choice.
We're
consistently in your space. I was talking to somebody about that the other day. I was like, I think the writers of Martin could write Friends. The writers from Friends can't write Martin.
No, they regularly do, if we're being real.
Oh, no, they'll take it, and you know what I mean? Like they did with Living Single.
If people started posting pictures of the writers' rooms of black shows, I think Twitter would just explode. Like,
that's actually true. There's a lot of.
I don't think people understand at all like how bad it is.
Like, it was produced by Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, because we need white people to like put us on, you know. But it's also some of these rooms, man. You just be real surprised at who's writing these black people.
Oh, this is true. And actually, you know what's funny? I think studios forget this. They forget the difference between what greenlights a movie and what sells a movie.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right? Like
they go, well, we need this because it gets greenlight, and it's just like, no, that's just you guys selling to each other.
Yeah, that's just you being like, yeah, I think this could make some money. Do you think? And I'm like, what if we like looked at your track record though, and compared the movies that you greenlit to the movies I hit, and then let's factor that into our decisions and recognize that you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Well,
I mean,
look at something like Tenet, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, I feel like at some point there was probably a conversation where they were like, who do we push more? You know, fucking Washington or Pattinson, you know, for Bat Boy. And it's just like, why would you put Robert Pattinson in front of the person that is actually leading the movie? On top of the fact that...
You know why. You know exactly why they would do that.
Why would you put him ahead of John David Washington, who actually has a much tighter track record for movies?
It's actually nuts, man. I mean, I think the thing that's like so weird about this moment too is like, as much as the so-called racial reckoning is a part of popular culture and stuff, like there's so much terrible shit that just doesn't come up in an interview or like normal conversation about how Hollywood works. It's depressing. Why are we doing any of this?
I don't know. That's why I started this show.
Art's beautiful. That's right. Art is beautiful. And it's a way to transmit meaning. Despite class.
I feel like that's great. That's a lot of bullshit, but
it's true.
I feel like are white people still nice to you, or do you feel like your George Floyd dollars have run up?
White people are always nice to me. Nice isn't the problem. Are they bullshitting me? Are they gaslighting me? Are they manipulating me, pitting me against other people of color for purposes that make them more money? Yeah, that never stopped happening. That's still going down. But people are nice to me, you know.
I feel like 2 weeks after like the riots start, not the riots, but 2 weeks after, like I wanted to riot, but 2 weeks after like Floyd, like when the protests were really happening in LA. Thank you, person who said that they loved me. A white lady, I know they lying. A white lady moved her dog out of the way of me while I was walking.
Oh.
And I'd never seen, that's literally never happened to me.
That's really sweet of her.
Usually, like, it was like very clear there was tension in the air. She's like, I'll give him room.
So, I went to a protest. I would try to explain this to my boyfriend too, who's wonderful and also white. And we were like doing, the protest thing, and we went down to a Black Lives Matter protest, and I was like, Rick, I felt so fucking weird because I was I was also the only black person at this Black Lives Matter protest
in LA,
and that's weird in a way that I can't quite explain in my body, but it felt wrong. I don't know why. I appreciated everyone for coming. I just like
it's so weird. I was because I've been at the protest, and it is that thing. It's the first protests about racial inequality I've ever been at where white people were in the predominant part of it.
Which I'm glad that's happening. But at the same time, I just in my body, it was like, is it my birthday? Are we protesting injustice? Like I don't know how to process it.
Well, it's also very hard when you see allies move into the leadership position. Because inevitably it feels as though the message will get muddied. Right. It was very like I'll tell you one or two uncomfortable experiences I had in protesting. What was exactly that? There was one or two times where it was just like really outraged white people who were just like, there's one particular group, not the majority, but one particular group where it felt like you're getting your jollies. Like they were cursing out the cop. They're like, yeah, fuck you pigs. And I was like, just as long as when these cops come, you're in front.
And you're the one who said it?
And you go, it was me, pig. Cause I'm not where that is. I don't know where I still,
that is either.
I still don't have
I can't do shit for the movement if I'm dead. So
But do you know there's a privilege in that like was shocking to me because I was like I'm not finna
be out of here.
But but I will say this though, it's the privilege that we've needed on the side of this movement for a long time. We can't do shit without it because it's like Black people did not create racism, and that's why I think definitions are so important, and why when I first made Dear White People, I got into all these stupid fucking Twitter fights over what racism means. It's important because like racism and prejudice are different fucking words. They mean different things. And if we're talking about racism, we're talking about a system of injustice, and it's really important to note that in a system of injustice, an oppressed person cannot be a perpetrator of that system. Black people can be prejudiced. We can say some racist shit maybe, but we can't actually be racist because if we're racist, then we are improperly defining this system. The system is upheld by white people, okay? We need them to stop doing that. If we want racism to end, we can't just sort of like peace and love our way through it. I mean, that's just, we're not in control of this system.
I always hate love.
You hate love?
I hate when people are like, well, if we just loved each other. I'm like, man, that's not stopping a bullet.
Honey, God gave us love and hate.
You know what I mean?
Both are very useful.
Martin Luther King preached love. Y'all shot him. I want to stay alive. I want to stay alive. Also, people, please stop quoting Martin Luther King to me. Please learn about other people other than Martin Luther King. Can't be your go-to.
But also, if you're gonna quote Martin Luther King, like really understand Martin Luther King in the context of his time.
Why?
Because what is the fucking point? Like, what is the point? It's like, Martin Luther King was like enemy number one. Like he was portrayed as such a radical to white people at that time that like it's arbitrary now that he's like a saint to white people.
Well, I always say that there's nothing conservatives love more than a dead civil rights leader.
It's more useful.
Yeah, I feel like I don't see a lot of conservatives quoting civil rights leaders that are alive, and they exist, or
they actually exist.
They actually exist, and you're probably railing against them in Congress.
Actually, and the funny thing is, your original point is right though. It wasn't just Malcolm and Martin. There was a people that like, if you go back to some of the shit Fred Hampton was saying, some of the shit Stokely Carmichael was saying, Angela Davis, of course James Baldwin. The like none of this shit is new. Like we've been saying, like black people have been saying it out loud for a long time.
Here's the thing: they don't even go for shit. Come on now, like here's the thing: if you even just went for people that were politically active, even if you just picked black people that were politically active, But I feel like you're very purposeful about the black people you're being. Like, even, what was it? I think it was Clinton that had something to say, a little half backwards, about Stokely Carmichael at John Lewis's.
Sure, yeah,
Shit like that.
And I was like,
crowd, bro.
not,
Not the right
the
audience.
funeral room, dude.
Of John Lewis. Like, not. We're not on that page with you.
Like, by the way,
Fred Hampton, he was mouthy, right?
Oh boy, mouthy. Oh, mouthy and sassy are the two words I can't do. Oh my god, mouthy.
how do you
Where do I go with this?
Oh, sorry. What should I? Do you want me to put my host?
I was about to go into interracial relationships and how hard it is when you're so blackety black. Is it right? That's a thing.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Is that hard? Is it hard being in an interrelationship, or have enough people seen your black movies that your card is checked for a while?
Oh, I think black people are always like suspicious of me when they find out that I have, not all black people, of course. I mean, I hope that's a given that I know that I'm not talking about black people as a monolith.
Assume we're talking about everyone all the time.
There's always a comment or two that I totally fucking notice. If I post a picture of me and my boyfriend or something, because I think like the thought is that like, you know, I must be dating him because he's white and he must be dating me because I'm black, when in fact, like, you know, I think all of us, I think the thing that makes a relationship great is you get to lose yourself in it. That when you're around your significant other, you're not a black guy or a white person. You're not an identity object. You are a person with very conflicting moods and attitudes, and you're a whole thing. And the person you can be that around is, you know, tends to be the person that you want to be around. And so, you know, I guess it sucks if I was as so caught up in my identity as to like sort of, you know, dictate my life based on fucking Twitter comments, but I don't. And I wish we could talk more openly about it in the black community, because I think there's a lot of conversation that would be great to have out loud, but we can't really because, you know, some people think of you as a traitor or something. And honestly, like, I actually kind of get it. Like, I like, you know, I'm not going to call this person out, but I have a dear friend.
Oh my God.
Who,
If we had a real show together, it'd just be tea. It'd be tea time.
all
with
I
Justin
am
and
is
Malcolm.
tea. All I am is tea. Tea is just always spilling out of my fucking mouth. I can't help it. But I have a friend who was just like, I feel oppressed by how much like commercials are pushing interracial relationships on me. And honestly, like, he had a fucking point, because it was like, this does feel like, if you watch like TV, like if you watch like VH1 or something, like the interracial families in these commercials are extremely aggressive, and it's almost, they're like, we don't know who to market this to, so let's put them both in. But it's like, we're not addressing the reality of an interracial relationship in any way, shape, or form. But that said, you know, it's like I can see both sides of it. It's like, you know, black love is not encouraged at the level that it should be. And, you know, interracial relationships are like, have traditionally been, you know, the cure for racism for white people. Actually, interracial relationships are both like the ways in which white people have rallied other white people for and against, you know, racism. But black people aren't really that obsessed with it. I don't think. I'm not.
I'm interested because I always have jokes, and so it's just really
for the swirls, like for people like me.
I have jokes for anybody.
Oh yeah.
So really, that's like, if I didn't know you, like, I was just like, I'm like, oh yeah, that motherfucker's with the white dude. Yes.
You know, that motherfucker had to take a
Kill
tax
him.
for us.
Kill him.
But yeah,
I tried, man. I tried so hard to have a black boyfriend when I was single. They weren't into me. I don't know what to say.
I don't know. I would be into you. I mean, you're like, you're successful.
But you scare me, and you're not like interested in men, so it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work. I'm a bit of a wild card.
Yeah, like I'm always gonna bring up the time when you jumped out of a bush at me. Look at Leah talking about he did try. She knows. She know to see all the broken hearts.
I did.
Them niggas didn't want me. They didn't want me.
I love, he tried.
Um,
Justin?
show.
Oh, yeah, no.
I need to host a dating.
I think of him like a friend.
I need to host a dating show for you called "Them Niggas Tried," and it's just black men trying to date you for like a week.
Wait, I'm taking. I'm booed.
You are. You're in like a real. You're in like a real thing. I feel
am.
like.
Yeah, me and Rick have been together like shit. I think almost 7 years. Like it'll be 7 years at the end of this year. In gay years, it's like 85 years.
You guys. I assumed you guys moved in the minute you met.
No, it wasn't the minute. But it was very. Oh, I can't. I don't think. I think that might be problematic for me to say now in mixed company. We moved. We didn't take forever to do it. It took maybe a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah. But yeah, Rick's. I mean, it's too late, guys. I really tried though.
I love the black guys in it. Like, well, what are you up to?
I fucking tried. I tried. I hollered at a lot of y'all motherfuckers talking about all kind of bullshit reasons why y'all wouldn't date.
I would. We can do like a virtual dating show.
It's too late.
It's not. It's just for the viewers, Justin. It's not to find you love.
Okay.
It's not. Give a fuck about finding you love, man. I'm here for the content.
Well, I have a lot of reasons to participate in this, of course, but you're gonna have to bring that fee up.
Okay. Well, it'll be at least double this one.
Okay.
So
see what you did there.
Yeah, you'll be set.
Yeah.
So what is this new movie about? What the fuck is this movie?
It's called Bad Hair.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
Just no respect on the name.
Why? It's called Bad Hair.
No, I think it's a great name. I'm not showing any respect. I got to be better at this. I'll be better later.
I don't care. It's Bad Hair. It's about a woman who gets a weave that is actually possessed. And, while it does so well for her career, it has an appetite for blood. Okay? And there's a price to pay. And it is a schlocky B-movie campy premise in which I have put, because I think you know me, some very serious shit in the middle of it, all throughout it, about the violence that I think we all are forced to accept from America.
Yeah.
So it's about white supremacy and it's about like violence against women and how terrible those things are. But somehow it also manages to be entertaining and nostalgic because it takes place in 1989, like right as New Jack Swing is taking over, which was kind of like in my mind, like that was like the last Black Renaissance when they made us think we were on, but actually we were just being exploited further. So like, and that was also the year where the weave exploded in popularity among American women. So
Weave.
It's a lot of things.
And this is a sequel to A Fall from Grace?
Yeah, it's actually a prequel to Dear White People. You find out how Winchester comes to be at the very end of the movie. It feels unrelated, and it is, but we let you know.
No, that's good. I like that you weave it in. What I'm interested in.
It's nice.
You see where I did that?
He said weave it in, guys.
You got that? Here's what I'm interested in. Like, here's where I'm actually going to ask you like real questions that I actually give a fuck about.
Those other ones weren't real? Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, it's just me faking a lot of it. If I did the real research, this would have been good.
You weren't paying attention to my answers. Got it.
No, not at all. What is the inspiration behind your writing style? Because when you look at Dear White People, right, it's a sort of elevated way of talking. Right, and there's a sort of elevated language in a world that you created. It's a sort of hyper reality. Bad Hair, there's a similar sense, right? In that it's almost a parody. It's looking at things. It's not a B movie, but it is looking at the world through the eyes of it.
It has a very pronounced aesthetic.
What is your inspiration behind writing these narratives that are never really completely straightforward?
I think part of it is because I studied theater. I got, y'all, arts education is so fucking important. But I got into performing arts high school and was introduced to Brecht at a very young age and introduced to you know, the kind of storytelling style that is attributed to him is called Brechtian, but you see it all over the place. And essentially what it means is that like it's a story that is admitting to the audience that it's a story. And when you do that, you sort of, it creates a different kind of honesty with the audience. Because if you have actors on the stage saying, I'm an actor and this is a character and this is just a play, well, then I'm actually being honest with you in a way that I wouldn't be if I was really pretending that all of this was real. And once you have that kind of understanding with the audience, you can do and say things that you couldn't if you were sort of tied to complete, strict naturalism. And to me, cinema is a dream. It's always a dream, even when it looks like real life, even when like it's made to look like a documentary and like this really actually happened, it's still a dream. And I just like admitting that up front, like it's a dream. So, you know, there's some things to take literally about this, but it's working on a symbolic, in a symbolic place. I think part of it too is just being queer. Like being queer and black means that like I kind of need to do this dance in between all these different cultures. Mm-hmm. And it certainly made me hyper articulate in my life. Because like I only have a certain amount of time to explain myself and exactly what I think and my opinions in the most charismatic and wonderful way. And it's just like we're on all the fucking time. And I wanted to sort of convey that in Dear White People, because as ridiculously quickly as they talk, these are conversations that I've heard and hear. Mm-hmm. And that sort of constant tap dance of identity is what I was trying to get at with that movie. And I just find it being easier being like, we know this is a movie, right? Okay, cool. Because I want to do some weird shit and I want to talk about some weird things. And I can't do that if we're pretending that this is strictly real life.
Oh, I love it. I love magical realism, hyper realism. Like that's my bit, you know. For those that don't know, probably the most popular form of Brecht in cinema right now is Deadpool. You know?
Yeah, that talking to the audience thing is you get a lot more. I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying I feel more comfortable in that style because there's a lot of shit I have to say, and I can't sort of be so careful about it to couch it into the narrative symbolism because I'm not white and you're not going to notice it if I don't draw attention to it. Because the assumption is that a black artist isn't saying something on that level.
I feel like that's happening with Lovecraft Country. Like have you watched this yet?
Oh yeah, it's great.
I feel like they're like, yeah, you're gonna we just put a whole fucking speech by Baldwin up. Okay, now look it up.
That's the thing but you know what? That's the thing that's part of the thing that makes black cinema so interesting to me. And black cinema, you know, doesn't begin and end with Spike Lee and Robert Townsend. There's actually a great wealth of amazing black directors. And the thing that I'm noticing that is a black cinema trademark that I was never taught, but I was doing it in Dear White People, and I realized there's a tradition for it. And I saw Spike doing it, but like I'm realizing, oh, Charles Burnett did it too, and Julie Dash did it, and you know all these other great filmmakers. Charles Lane did it, where like you put the content in the foreground because no one's going to reach into the symbolic meaning of it at the level with which it deserves because it's black and you don't have time. And if it's not called Dear White People, then who cares? Because no one may have heard about it and it doesn't matter how good it is. It has to be loud as well as profound. I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's also like what makes our shit cool.
I love loud and profound. It's interesting. I love the dialogues that happen. They happen with your work. They happen with Lovecraft Country because it is that thing. I do notice that of putting these profound imagery, these loaded images in the forefront. In Lovecraft Country, there's a lot of calls to pictures from like old photographs and different periods that are very specific about it. Do you like doing that? You've been directing behind the camera. You're very interesting cinematography wise, in terms of you have very symmetrical pictures in what you do. You're very specific about your composition. What was it like transitioning Dear White People from a movie to the TV show? You kept a lot of that aesthetic and a lot of the language and a lot of that heightened language. What did change?
I think the thing that changed is that, you know, I wanted each character to have more room. I wanted to, especially in the first two seasons, like when you're in a character's point of view, you tend to stay there. And unlike the movie, you're kind of bouncing between perspectives. And so I'm telling a story about four people in an hour and 45 minutes. Those people have to be sketches. You know, they're like impressions of people. Okay, I'm just talking. Is that Apocalypse on your back? Who is that?
Black Panther.
That's Black Panther?
Yeah. Original Cell from my boy Tommy.
Damn, may he rest.
Mm-hmm.
But what the fuck was I talking about?
You wanted the people to be able to live. You're usually staying with one character in particular, so you wanted to be able to.
Yeah, so like I wanted them to not be sketches. I wanted them to be fully fleshed out like human characters in the series because we had more time. You know, I had 5 hours to tell a story as opposed to an hour and 45 minutes. So that was like the biggest change. And with that means that like, you know, I think movies are idea and plot based, but shows are character based. So then at a certain point you go where the character needs to go. And it's sort of, I have something I want to say with the show, but I have to service these characters and like a believable journey that people are connecting with before I service anything else. I have to think like what would happen in this person's life before I can think about like how do I comment on systemic racism, you know. I think it's so approach maybe is the biggest change, and then like just the inclusion of like, you know, I realized that I would say 65% of the audience showing up for Dear White People are Black young women who sort of see themselves in either Sam or Coco. And so I knew that I needed Black women in the writer's room, and I not one, okay, not like a single expert, but many of them.
Here's our Black woman expert. Her name's Renita. She had food stamps at some time.
Multiple Black women needed to be in that writer's room and behind the camera and in, you know, important creative departments because, you know, what business do, like if women are showing up for this show, then we need to honor their experiences and include them in the show. Like that to me felt like an important thing to do.
How hard was it to find a group of Black people that could write? Because apparently it's very difficult.
It was so easy. I mean, putting a show together is actually not easy, but like you just look and ask. I don't know. Like I never had a problem finding Black people that could write.
This is what's amazing to me. It's like, it's not hard to fill a room with 12 Black people that can write well.
Not at all. I remember there was a moment in the first season where I looked to somebody and I was like, do we have too many gay Black people in this writer's room? And we just laughed because it was a question that no one would ever ask or had ever.
Literally no one. They don't ask that on Queer Eye, on Will and
Grace. Come up before.
It's never come up.
And that's basically the makeup. It's like it's a bunch of queers and women, and we're just out here trying to live our lives and make a good show.
What's your favorite movie with a magical Negro in it?
Well, you're not ready for this answer. Aladdin.
The new one or the
genie is a Negro, and if you don't know that, you've been bamboozled.
What? Talk to me.
He's based on Cab Calloway. He sings jazz and bebops and all this stuff. It's Robin Williams, but in character design and character function, it is a magical Negro.
Interesting.
It hides it well, but it's in every way what it was meant to be and what it is.
Can magical Negroes exist in predominantly Black work?
I guess so. I mean, you'd have to change. It wouldn't be the same thing. I mean, Magical Negro is like the single exotic Black character who will change everything for the white people's lives. Mm-hmm. And so you can have magical characters in Black work, but they just don't function in the same way because you don't think of them as the entirety of the Black race. But like if you watch something like To Sleep with Anger, which is a great Charles Burnett film from the 90s, starring Danny Glover is essentially a magical Negro among many other Negroes in that film. It doesn't work out the same way as Aladdin does.
No, it's very different.
Or Bagger Vance or something.
Bagger Vance was so... Bagger Vance is a wild...
I never saw it. I just couldn't.
Neither have I.
Put that shit in.
But Bagger Vance, I feel like that's a movie me and you could talk about for 5 years.
Let me shade one of your followers. No, Kobe Baden. Genies are not Black, but that genie was based on Cab Calloway, who is Black. Google.
Google Cab
Cab
Calloway.
Calloway, and then Google Howard Ashman, and then Google about Aladdin and educate your life.
Hidey, ho.
Howdy ho.
Cab Calloway, one of my earliest experiences of knowing who he was from Blues Brothers, the movie Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
That movie's black as fuck, by the way.
I've never seen it.
You never seen Blues Brothers?
Wonder why? Just something about it. Two white men appropriating black music.
White criminals
It just didn't.
doing black music for 2 hours.
I'm considerably younger than you two, so maybe it's like when it came out.
I don't know if you're considerably younger.
I think
than
we're
me.
the same age. We're the same age. But you know what's funny about that though? Like my boyfriend will always be like, there's like a pocket of time where if the movie has a white lead in it, like it's 50-50 whether or not I saw it, because this was the time when I wasn't making my own movie choices. So like if it came out between like, I want to say 87 and 96, like I don't know.
What, were your parents not letting you watch white movies or something?
It wasn't like they weren't letting me. It just didn't come up as often.
Got it.
And so like shit like The Goonies, like I had no idea. I didn't
know
know.
about
It just didn't come up. Like when would it have come up? While I was watching The Cosby Show? No. You know, like while I was going to Blockbuster to rent The Wiz again, it just didn't come up. I'm sorry. You know? And so people talk about these like amazing white movies from the 90s, and I'm like, if I didn't encounter it in film school or specifically go back to watch it, and it wasn't one of the white movies that crossed over, like Bill and Ted, I saw that shit growing up. That shit crossed over to black people. But the other ones,
The Goonies didn't hit you?
I missed them, y'all. And I saw all the shit when I was an adult, and I'm not as impressed as you were.
I feel like you sound like white people when black people talk about love and basketball.
Do white people talk about love and basketball?
No, this is like when black people are talking about love and basketball, and white people are like, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, no. Or The Wiz.
I saw American Graffiti.
How have
Well,
you never heard of Wiz?
I've seen American Graffiti too.
Well, I also haven't seen Love and Basketball.
Oh shit.
Okay, you want to talk about time? No, okay. You want to talk about time periods? There was a time period I would not see movies where black people played basketball. Like I just wasn't about
Like
it.
it was like a thing for you.
It was just a thing. I was just tired of.
No black movies. Because we were always either a basketball player or like civil rights leader.
Well, that's why I couldn't. So it was like, so they made Othello, right? They redo Othello, and it's fucking and what? Instead of like a head of anything, he plays basketball, right? You fucking see, okay, Finding Forrester, right? He's like this genius writer. What does he also do? Plays fucking basketball.
Because that's all we do, Malcolm. You know.
Okay. Above the rim, I fuck with Above the Rim. Yeah. So then I'm pissed off at all this shit, and then what movie comes out? Love and Basketball. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Love and Basketball goes hard though. That's a great film.
I've never seen it.
I know. It's what you should do when we're done here.
Have you seen Brown Sugar?
Yeah. Have you not?
I mean, I must have.
Not I must have.
I must have seen it.
I do know what you mean though, because like I had a time, I had a white phase in the late 90s, and you notice I cut it off at 96, because from 96 to 98 I got into like alternative music, and like I was listening to like Alanis Morissette and Green Day and all that shit, and I remember I had to hide it from both black and white people who were equally confused by this. And so like I had like a Walkman, but I would always like have it so you couldn't see the CD that's in it, because black people didn't really get it. And I would walk around singing Dave Matthews, but I put like runs and shit in it, and white people they were offended by that shit.
What's a song you would? What's a Dave Matthews song you?
I say my hell is a closet, I'm stuck inside. They'd be like, what are you talking about, side? That's not the words. And I'm like, guys, I just added an extra note. I'm black.
I love you just going like, only want to be with you.
Hell yeah. I grew up on Michael Jackson and shit. Like, we're adding notes. I don't know what you want.
Straight.
We're adding
remixes.
notes. We're destroying consonants. You have no idea what the lyrics are anymore, but it sounds great.
It sounds great. My first hugely white, well, not that, my first hugely white pop rock music I was into was Incubus. But one of my
I think that's what like jettisoned me back into blackness was when we got to that phase. I couldn't be that angry.
Pardon me while we burst into flames, baby? While we burst into flames?
There was something about white men being that upset that ultimately turned me off. Because I couldn't figure out what they were so upset about.
You probably don't listen to any Eminem at all.
I fuck with Eminem because he's the talent is like mind blowing. But I can't like I don't identify with him. You know what I mean? Like he's
no.
on my wall in any shape or form. Like
No, I don't. I can't identify. All right. So what's the next cool black shit you're gonna do after this?
I don't know, man. Hopefully make the show, Dear White People.
Oh yeah, how much longer is that gonna be airing? Is that you? Where are we at with this? You're in your 4th season, I believe, right?
4th and final season.
Ah, that's crazy.
And yeah, I'm ready, girl. I'm ready to make it.
Now, let me ask you this: is the season written already?
Yeah, yes, for months.
You guys, I don't know your fucking shooting schedule. I don't know you guys this fucking thing.
No, we've been sitting on these scripts for a long time. I'm like every like couple months I rewrite them because I'm told we must prepare to go back into production, and then we don't. But I think this time we will. So I think we'll be shooting it before the end of the year if all goes
smoothly. Do you address COVID at all?
Okay, here's a fucked up thing. There's like a COVID reference. We address COVID in such a way that like you would have thought we came up with it.
Really?
After COVID, yeah, but we didn't. And we also address like white people's sudden interest in black issues, but we didn't realize that was going to be a thing. So in a lot of ways, like it actually was already about this moment. If anything, we're just sort of making it more on purpose that it's about this moment. But like, I'm really excited to tell this story right now. It's so shady and perfect.
It's funny. I feel like a lot of black work, particularly some of the stuff that I've seen permeating and the stuff that I'm interested in, seems oddly prescient. But when in reality, it's things that we've always thought about and have always gone on, and our finger has always been on the pulse about.
Yeah.
And now it just seems even more. But it's like,
if you're just paying attention, it feels prescient because like the culture as a whole is never paying attention to these things. But if you go back and you read Baldwin, or you hear, like we were already on this tip, but if you listen to Stokely Carmichael or you listen to Fred Hampton, like we've been saying the same things. It's just that like culturally we forget that these things are true or been said or whatever, or that these people even existed. I mean, you know, like you go in the Criterion Collection and start checking out black people, you're like, I remember I just watched a film by Charles Lane called Sidewalk Stories, okay? This is a black man who basically made The Artist in 1989. It's the same concept as The Artist, except it's way fucking better than The Artist. And I had just discovered it in 2020 as a black filmmaker who is avidly interested in black films. What the fuck, society? And you watch this shit and you're like, oh, a black person came up with this shit already and did it way better. And was not only did they not get an Oscar nomination, this shit wasn't even released. It didn't even come out on home video.
Exactly. Well, that's what's crazy. It's like if you watch The Watchmen, it's like it seems oddly prescient now, but it's like, yeah. There's white supremacists in the police force, like,
or it's like when Dear White People, like, you know, was like, oh, Dear White People has surged in viewership. You know, how do you feel, Justin? The views are up 600%, and I'm like, I'm mad a little bit because what took y'all so fucking long? Like, this shit didn't just become true. The show is years old.
Years old. I'm excited.
It shouldn't be this current.
I'm excited to see all the brand new tweets you get asking what happens if they made a Dear Black People. I'm excited
to see the brand new wave.
By the way, that's how I know if y'all motherfuckers been watching the show because we already did that shit in season 3. So you ain't caught up if you asking that question.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You're not gonna catch my ass on Twitter, man. I think I'm done with that shit.
It's probably for the better. Look, we got about 60 seconds left. I got okay. Last 3 questions. We always do this. What are the really quickly the 3 things that are the dopest things to you right now? It could be sex. It could be a movie. It could be ice cream. It could be spending time by yourself. What is it? 3 things that are amazing for you right now.
Weed delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Adobe Premiere, And the Brandy and Monica thing from yesterday. That was dope.
That shit was fire.
That was fire, man.
Shady shade, 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 shade. I endeavor to have that one day with you. I want me and you to have a versus.
Oh, you have to like make some things, I guess.
I'll have to accomplish something.
Yeah, you have to accomplish something. I'll have to make like a third movie.
Yeah. 5 seconds. Where do we go from here? You have 5 seconds. Go. Good.
You say you want it, but you don't want to give it to me. You say you need it, but you don't want to give it to me. You say you want it, but you don't want to give it to me. You say you need it.